Thank you, Madam Chair. I would want to start with Dr. Salama for two reasons. One is that you also come from my hometown, Edmonton, and we are neighbors in my riding of Edmonton Southeast. And the second thing is that you are doing the practical stuff when it comes to industry and making the drugs that public can really use. So that's really commendable. During your testimony, you have cried out loud, lack of funding. The funding does go to academia to a certain extent, but when it comes to funding to the industry, to the pharmaceuticals, to the researchers who can actually produce those drugs which can be made available, you have faced a lot of frustration there. You told me that to the panel that you have 30 plus years of experience in developing the drugs. So if you can shed some light on what you have done in reaching out to the federal government for funding on the research side of, not just on the academia and on the research side of the drug development, and what kind of results have you got?
Thank you for the question. In your writing, we discovered Potazo in 1986. Potazo is a drug that's sold worldwide right now, and it saves billions and millions of lives every year. There's no lack of innovation. Alberta is a leader when it comes to AMR research. We have tapped into some federal funding, but what you need to understand, the times have changed. Programs like IRAP, which is by the Industry Research Assistance Program, dictates that companies that will really qualify for that need to continue to increase the number of staff, because IRAP basically pays about 80% of the funding for new staff. For companies like us, human resource is a big issue. In order for us to increase and to carry the overhead that brings into the company, continue to increase staff is an issue. We use different models of funding in order for us to keep the lights on, but the requirement by IRAP is an issue. We've raised that with the IRAP program that there has to be other ways to award companies that would not restrict them. So that was one of the issues. Other programs that exist in Canada here really are tailored for people that really have a product demonstration. Product demonstration really means that you have to have taken the drug into clinical trials in order for you to continue, which leaves about maybe a 7 or 8 years gap from the time our company would take the product until it reaches clinical trials. That gap now is unfunded. This is the period that we're talking about, is that we need to bridge that gap from where a product comes out of academic research until we reach clinical trials. Once I'm in clinical trials, I have proof of concept in humans. I'm almost closer to the end, but that gap between proof of concept in animals to proof of concept in humans, right now that gap is not existing.
So if I summarize your questions, you have tried taking funding from the federal government, but it has not the level that you want it to happen. It has not happened yet. And do you see there is a lot of improvement that needs to be done?
I think the programs that do exist, like the IRAP program, is due for a review right now, and I'm calling for that really to be done in consultation with companies in order for us to be able to take advantage of them.
So if you have to compare Canada with its counterpart, America, in regards to designing and approving new and alternative drugs, what kind of regulatory holdbacks do we face here in Canada as drug developers?
From an approval process, you mean?
Yes.
Well, definitely the red tape that exists in the approval of drugs, especially in the antibiotic space, that's really a hurdle right now, and that needs to be reviewed. That conversation at the federal, provincial, territorial level in terms of really drug approval, that needs to be reviewed as well.
Is it fair to say that because of that red tape that also exists in pharmaceutical development, a lot of companies chose or are choosing to go to different other jurisdictions, including America?
So I mentioned there were two reasons, right? The first one I mentioned was that approval process, the time it takes for the approval process. Yes.